G'day Bomber fans, we've got our first team selection of the year to react to, our first AFL team selection of the year. We're not going to talk about practice matches. This is our first game tonight, huge game, big game against the Hawks. Really tough matchup to start the year, but as Richmond proved last night, anything is possible. We're underdogs against the Hawks, that's for sure, but the Tigers weren't even underdogs against the Blues. They were not even in the equation. To put it into perspective, by the way, so I tipped Carlton by 50 odd points, and I was genuinely thinking if that was too low a prediction. I thought the Blues were going to absolutely have their way with the Tigers, but here we are. Somehow the Tigers have beaten the Blues. They've really put some question marks around that club, which I absolutely love. I don't like many teams, but I don't dislike many teams, sorry, but I really do not like Carlton. So I guess we just got to thank Richmond for giving us something to cheer about this early into the season. That was a really fun game of footy. I've never barracked for the Tigers as hard as I did last night, but this isn't about that. I wish I could yap on about that, but it's not. This is about our game tonight, and also our VFL practice match. I've got a little bit of info on that as well. Well, not info, but just keeping you guys in the loop with that. But yeah, we're going to talk about lineups for that. But before we start, because I know this is probably going to be a low-viewed video with the dedicated community members here. So this year, I'm going to be trying to get some guests onto the channel. I've already reached out to someone who I think you guys are going to absolutely love to hear from, and there should be a video coming out with him later in the year, closer to the trade period. I am very excited for that, but if there's anyone else you want on the channel or some different kinds of videos, let me know down in the comments. I'm trying to do some new things in 2025, have a bit of fun with the year, I guess, but let's just get into this video now. Okay, so in my preview, I predicted both lineups, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I may or may not have nailed it. Well, actually, I guess we'll wait to see till the subs are announced, but starting with us, and honestly, I think this was pretty expected, our lineup. Everything was pointing towards this 23, so let's go through it. McGrath, Mackay, Ridley, Redmond, Reed, and Jackson Pryor. That is 6 of our main 7 defenders that we will have running through there with Shield on the bench. We are actually, for the first time, I'm just going to say ever, for the first time in a long time at least, we are full strength down in defence, which is very odd. That doesn't happen often. The midfield, Nick Martin listed on a wing, more likely to be up forward. Archie Roberts listed on the other wing. He's still my predicted sub, by the way, but I'll talk about that in a bit. We'll see Jai Caldwell in the guts. Moving up forward, we've got Nate Caddy, Kyle Langford, Archie Perkins, Harry Jones, who will likely spend plenty of time on the wing, Sam Draper and Isaac Kako. We've got Nick Bryan in the ruck, Sam Durham and Zach Merritt in the engine room. And on the bench, there is Elijah Sartas, who will be in the midfield, Ben Hobbs, Dylan Shield, who I spoke of before, Jade Gresham, and Xavier Dersma. The sub will be announced not long before the start of the match. I still think it'll probably be Archie Roberts. I just think he's got versatility, which is ideal in a sub. And if not him, Ben Hobbs, I guess. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Archie Roberts or Ben Hobbs, just because I think everyone else is pretty much first team. I would really hate if it was Sartas or someone. I've seen some say Gresham, but we need ground level power in the forward line. And some said Jones too, but I think he performed too well against Geelong in the practice match to be demoted to sub. Yeah, to be honest, I think it kind of has to be Roberts or Hobbs. We'll see though. Scott's thrown some surprises here before. And the 3 emergencies are Jai Menzie, Saad El Hawley, and Tom Edwards. So if any injuries occur, I'd probably assume Jai Menzie gets the call-up unless it's in the defensive half of the field, and in that case it would likely be Saad El Hawley. And on to our opponents. So I also had a go at predicting their lineup, and again, spot on. 2 from 2 for the year so far. I feel like of all the teams outside of Essendon that I know, I probably know Hawthorn the most, or maybe Hawthorn and Adelaide, just because I've got some mates who unfortunately go for Hawthorn. They're going to be very upset when we beat them tonight. And by the way, some teams don't really put effort in with the listed teams. They'll just throw names around in certain zones. So there are going to be some weird positional things. Ours was okay. Hawthorn's is a bit odd. So Tom Barras, Blake Hardwick, Massimo is in a pocket, but he will be on a wing. Jack Scrimshaw, Jarman Impey at centre half-back, and Josh Battle. On the wings, we have one of the best small forwards in the game, Dylan Moore, and one of the best intercept markers, James Sicily. Moore will be in the forward half. Sicily will probably start defence, but will likely swing forward later in the game as it goes along. Connor Nash in the guts, Connor McDonald on a flank, Harry Morrison at centre half forward. He's the smallest centre-half forward ever. I'd love to see that. He'll be on a wing. Nick Watson, Jack Ginnivan, Mabior Toll, and Will Day. Lloyd Meek in the ruck. Josh Ward replaces the injured James Worpel. He's the only change Hawthorn made. Carl Amon in the centre, and on the bench we have Josh Weddle, Jai Newcomb, Cam McKenzie, Finn McGuinness, and Sam Frost, who was the sub last week against the Swans. I'm going to guess that he is the sub this week too, because also, I guess they have options. It could be someone like Cam McKenzie or Finn McGuinness, or even Josh Ward, who's replacing Worpel. Maybe Harry Morrison. I feel like Sam Mitchell is someone who keeps his cards close to his chest. He might not be the type of coach to just put the same sub out every weekend. They've got a few different players that could wear the vest. And the Hawks emergencies as well. CJ Jath, who's coming back from injury, Jack Gunston, and Luke Bruce. So if anyone's injured, those three are the replacements. Two of them are forwards, one of them is a defender or a wingman. That is Hawthorn's lineup. So the ins and outs, I'm going to do this every week, but I mean, it doesn't really mean a lot now because we haven't played a game yet. So ins and outs for Essendon's nil. I will say though, from our round one team last year, we've made a bunch of changes. I'll first say Worpel is out with an injury, Ward is in for Hawthorn. But back to my point. So last year we had Heppel, Nick Cox, Will Setterfield, Jake Stringer, Peter Wright, Todd Goldstein, Jai Menzies, and Jake Kelly in the team. Instead of them this year, we have our two club debutants in Jackson Pryor, who's pretty much Jake Kelly, a clone. Isaac Kako, who is, I guess, replacing Jai Menzies. We've got Archie Roberts, who is replacing, or I guess, Heppel. Nate Caddy, who's replacing Peter Wright. Nick Bryan in the ruck, of course. And Jordan Ridley is fit this time round too, which is massive. We didn't have Sam Draper either last year. It was just Todd Goldstein on his own. So as a whole, we probably do have a better lineup than we did last year in round one. But I mean, most clubs would, so do Hawthorn. Theirs is miles better than they had it in round one last year. For those wondering, I am still tipping the Hawks. The optimists in the comments didn't change my mind. I just think the Hawks get it done by 35 points. But last night did give me a little bit of hope for the season. I obviously don't think we're a horrible team, but just because no one gave Richmond a chance, and now look at them in the 8 after round one, ahead of Carlton, who some had winning the flag. If Richmond can do it, so can every other team in the competition. So yes, the Hawks are a better team than us, but Carlton are a better team than Richmond, or they should be a better team than Richmond. You never really know until the game ends. All right, now a little bit of info for those wanting to know about the non-AFL, or the AFL listed boys that aren't in the game, the emergencies and the young kids. So today at 4:30, before the AFL, the VFL team, and some AFL listed obviously, will head to the hangar to play Box Hill, which is Hawthorn's VFL side. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I will be watching the VFL just as closely as the AFL this year, because 2025, it's all about debut watch. We get to see how close guys like Angus Clark and Sardell Hawley and Zach Johnson and Reece Unwin and Lewis Hayes, all these players, we get to see how close they get to playing footy. So tomorrow afternoon, we will see the young kids and the VFL boys go at it against the Box Hill Hawks. You would think everyone available would be playing, not including the AFL squad. The emergencies probably won't play. One or two might, but not all three. One at least will be rested to in case there's an injury tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow expect to be hearing about Zach Johnson and Jaden Newen, these types of players. The VFL doesn't start for another week, I think, and when it does, I will have regular updates for you. Honestly, maybe even weekly updates, just because of how much interest there is with our young players. But yeah, that is all for today. Cheers for watching a shorter video. Pretty boring team selection, no surprises. Just get ready for tonight. A big game, so let's see how the boys go. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and go Bombers.